Hello everyone, my name is Dev Khanna and I welcome you all to the fourth episode of Not Another Story. So ये जो है ना, this is the initiative of SDU. SDU being one of the top cultural committee of Jai Hind College, and this is an initiative to spread awareness about various industries. We do have some amazing panelists, some amazing guests with us over here, and we're going to have a fun chit chat on various topics. It's going to be a fun episode. My name is Dev Khanna, and I'm going to be a host of this chat session. To introduce our panelists for today, ladies and gentlemen, we have none other than an independent cybercrime investigator and also a certified ethical hacker. He's also a certified international trainer in the field of cybersecurity, ethical hacking, cybercrime investigations, and digital forensics. Since many years, he's working as an independent cybercrime investigator and also as an IT security expert for various MNCs, SMEs, government departments, corporate and individuals. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Sachin Dedhia.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining in. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have currently the founder and CEO of AiiSocial, amongst world's first comprehensive social platform, turning customer-generated data and social engagement into an asset by monetizing it and helping enterprises have access to anonymous consumer data and behavior insights, along with relevant social seeking as well as marketing opportunities in a transactional format for a cost. The transactional format makes the consumer more aware of what, why, and how they're sharing, while enterprises can legally, economically, and effectively understand as well as connect with the audience without the manipulation algorithms. Previously led Sapient Technologies in cooperation with offices in the United States, United Kingdom, and India. Presenting to you, ladies and gentlemen, Ankit Chaudhari.
Thank you, Dave, for the introduction. And AiiSocial, as you said it, it's AiiSocial, and our social network is called AiiSocial. So glad to be a part of this interaction.
Next up, ladies and gentlemen, we have currently the co-founder and COO of AiiSocial Incorporation, the first B2C data ecosystem connecting individuals and businesses in an anonymous and consensual format. AiiSocial transforms consumer data into an asset and rewards users for sharing insights via the AiiSocial app. #MyDataMyAsset. We have, ladies and gentlemen, none other than Nicholas.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome. Looking forward to kick this session off and for some good conversations.
Thank you so much. We also have a model from the Indian fashion industry, ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Varshita Thatavarthi.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And lastly, on the panel, ladies and gentlemen, we have someone who stays in Mumbai, is born in a Gujarati family, has also been surrounded by people and delicious food all his life. He finished schooling from Jamnabai Nursery School in Juhu, went to Sydney, Australia for undergraduate studies in information technology. He's always been a foodie, got fascinated when he went abroad and saw varieties of vegetarian food dishes available, which was an eye-opener and tempted him to try different cuisine, which led to this curiosity to experiment further. And at the end of the day, food blogging. Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you Akshay Davda.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Yadi.
So to begin with, if I have to ask my first question on the social media applications that we come across every day, what is that one trend currently that you love? So starting with Sachin, sir.
Well, the one trend that we currently love is people sharing their ideas, people putting up the places that they are visiting. Okay, and they are now more open. So like we are seeing the younger generation being now more open to giving up the kind of places that they're going, what they're eating, what they are, and everything like that. But when you come to open and being direct, and me coming from a cybersecurity world, we also see certain, trends which we don't find it, very appealing from a, you can say from a security point of view. But what we do feel good or the open trend is the youngsters, they are very quick to catch on to any kind of apps that are coming to them, from like going from WhatsApp to Facebook to Insta to Snapchat and everything like that. So yeah, good to see the youngsters catching up with all the new, trends which have been given to them. Yes.
Akshay sir, if I have to ask you, the trend that you are currently loving
Yeah.
on the social media platforms.
Honestly, I just love the fact that food connects. No caste, religion, creed, nothing. It just connects. People used to first tell me you're a vegetarian, you don't have enough food, what are you going to explore? You would be shocked. Forget vegetarian. If I see the kind of, the stuff that vegans have, I'll turn a vegan now if you want. It's amazing. Like social media has opened the doors for literally connecting with people you never knew, they could do something like that. The recipes, fusion mix, Indian, foreign, you name it and you can make one. I can connect with people who are doing amazing job, in villages. So as I told you earlier also, social media is like a coin, positive and negative side. I always take the positive side. It's opened doors. I don't think I could have thought of doing something like this maybe 5-10 years back. I'm lucky I'm in this generation, and I only see that digital marketing and digital influencing is going to go ahead.
So if you have to ask Ankit sir, one trend that you currently love.
If one trend means, I wouldn't just say one trend because we own a social media platform, so it's difficult for us to point out a certain trend. But what we love about social media per se is the factor that you can monetize your efforts in a certain direction. Like for example, Akshay could be monetizing his food blogging through social media, which wouldn't have been possible say about 5 or 7 years ago, or early days of the social or digital platforms coming into play, which can happen today. We've seen TikTok millionaires being created in India. We've seen YouTube millionaires being created in India. And this is a time when only half of our population is yet on social. Half of our population will get onto any sort of a digital medium in the coming decade. And which is why this is such a huge opportunity. So if somebody like Sachin would use social as a platform to educate people about cybersecurity behavior, about security loopholes, then Sachin has that audience not in 10 people sitting in a classroom, but the entire population that is part of a platform. And that is the real power of social. Your message gets exponentially segregated into different genres. Other than that, the voice of India, the voice of the world, which says that um, social data should no longer be treated only as a consumer commodity, or a consumer information should not be treated as a commodity to be sold from here to there, is the other trend that I am loving, because that means that our users are getting more and more educated about the fact that we are entering into a phase which would be called data economy 20 years from now. And when that data economy is at its peak, these users are the one who will be taking monetary, social, and other benefits out of it.
Moving on to Nick sir.
I'm looking at it a bit from a, let's say, an international aspect. And for me, the Binut viral, what do you call it, movement really stuck with me, because I came to India about, I would say, November last year, 2019. And I've seen Binut, throughout the journey. I've seen it on posts. I've seen people commenting it, but I really could not connect somehow to it. I didn't know what it is. I just saw and I laughed about it because, everybody said it. And then after a while, I got to hear what it actually is about. And I think that this is, it is very interesting how the youth nowadays can make up something, and which results in a laugh for everybody, puts a smile on everybody's face. And I think this goes a bit also in the direction which Akshay said, that social media is opening the gates, is opening the doors for a lot of things. And in this case, it definitely opened the door also to the international world, impacting me and making me laugh and understanding what it is about. And I told some friends back home in Switzerland about the concept, let's say, of Binut, the concept. And yeah, they laughed immediately. It's actually cool that this happens even, that things like that happen. So what I love mostly about social media in this sense is that today it's nothing, and tomorrow it can be huge, and it doesn't matter what it is. It can be the Binut thing, it can be a food blog, it can be a workout session which you're hosting, and so forth. And I think the virality aspect, that this is even possible to reach the masses, this is what I love about social media the most.
Moving on to Varshita ma'am, what about you is, the most amazing trend right now going on that you love completely?
Hello, everyone. I'm a model, so I can't be biased. And I have to tell you that I love social media as a whole because we get a lot of opportunities in our field, especially through social media. I don't believe in trends because I think these are just fads that go away with time, and a lot of other new things come up and the old ones go away. But in terms of what I think of, I completely agree with Ankit. And in terms of what I think of social media as a whole, I think it's a very powerful tool these days, especially for young photographers, models, artists, artisans, and all kinds of people, artists who are trying to get an access to wider opportunities that are actually present in the market. Previously, I remember there was a time when these photographers and even models had to carry a big folder with them with their portfolios, and it all had to be in print, and they would visit these studios, and they had to actually be there physically, be present physically, to be able to get anything done. But with the boon of social media, which is why I absolutely love it, is the fact that how easy it has become for people to reach out to one another with one and another because of this powerful tool. So I think it's a boon that we have social media. And in terms of, I don't know if I can point out one single trend that I think has something that caught my eye. But I remember Sachin mentioned something about traveling. I love traveling, and I love how easy it is to just put those random stories on Instagram. Knowing, see, I know when you do a static post, I understand that it is there to stay forever. But when you put out these stories, it's always fun because you go somewhere and you want to put out stories about the kind of food you eat. You know that they're not there to stay. So it's always nice that, like how even social media is very short lived. So it's always nice that when you put out these stories, which I really enjoy doing, whether you're traveling or going to a nice restaurant to eat, or even when you're at a business seminar, it's always nice that people know what you're doing. But at the same time, it's not there forever to sort of like take a toll on your whole profile,
Yes,
because I don't want somebody to tell me that, oh, I know that you like eating aloo chaat or whatever, because it won't be there forever for them to remember. So it's always very short lived, which is what I quite enjoy.
So as Varshita ma'am mentioned, she just said that it's a boon, absolutely a boon according to her. If I have to ask the other panelists, social media a boon or a bane? To start with, Sachin sir.
Well, a boon for the existing people as of now. But in the long run, I think the generation coming after us, I
Yes.
think if they are going to be more on social media and giving out all their particular details, and like, to just give a simple example, we ended up giving our biometrics on the phone itself, like, which is
Yes.
connected to our Aadhaar cards and God knows what. So what people are now seeing are the good sides of it. How do we take benefit out of it, and how do we, at the end of it, it all comes at a cost. Like, when people say that, like, there are no free lunches in this world, okay, like, so
True.
it has to be
I
there.
agree. I agree
Yeah.
to that. I know.
There will be somebody who will be taking who will be taking this kind of data, would try to monetize it, will try to. So what I feel is that we are just giving out data in the initial part of it. So right now I really feel it's overall, if I were to tell you, 80% of it think it's going to be a good boon for the existing generation as of now. But I feel the next generation which is going to come up, well, if they begin to give out data that easily and that openly, I might feel that it might turn out to be a bane for them. I always feel that we have to capitalize on that. At the end of the day, we have to capitalize on all these opportunities which are coming out. But at the same time, just look into the responsibility part of it, or little bit the security part. We don't end up giving our, the how do I put it, our personal too much of sharing details. Not exposing too much that somebody can think it like, yeah, this is like a like an open person. We can really study him up, and then we can push him something out. No.
I think,
But overall, I feel it's a boon.
Akshay, you had said, free lunches, as sir mentioned, free
There's
lunches.
nothing like a free lunch. And this, I'll clear the misconception because we have other panelists. People think that food blogging is about free food. Trust me, there is nothing free in it. You ask any social media creator over here the amount of hard work and effort that it takes from pre, current, and post production. Even if it's a recipe video, it's insane. So you understand everything has a point, an aspect to it. Coming to the security part and coming to social media, I think a couple of steps that everybody's taking now, because when we were on the platform with Instagram also, moderation policies have come in, which is a relief, in terms of restriction and blockage. You can restrict an account, which is very good, without the other person knowing that you've restricted them. our generation and the generation to follow, they need two things which we need to follow as well. One is clarity as to why we use social media. If it's for personal use, to fun, to connect with family and friends, use it to a point where people cannot know more than they need to know about you. And the other thing is to understand the backdrop or the backfire that can have with consequences. Many people nowadays have these forms you need to fill up. We want collaborations, your addresses, like he pointed out, biometrics. It's very easy to get one after the other. Instagram has a two-step, verification point. You have to do all that. Currently, what we are doing in social media, I don't think I've ever seen something like this. Next 3-5 years, awesome period. There's always a risk value. There is always a risk value. And as a content creator, I can tell you this. We have a personal account, which would be private, which nobody knows about me. And I would have a public account. I would never want to link the two.
Right. I think it's time for us to even talk to the co-founders of a social media app, Ankit sir and Nicholas sir. What do you think about it? Like, what is the perspective when you make a social media app? Like, what are the things you consider to make it not a bane at the end of the day later on?
So Sachin and Akshay both, they actually raised points from a negative connotation perspective, which are very much being faced today by the current generation of users, and definitely will increase considerably as we talk about the coming generation. There were examples of a platform storing data around kids who were 12 to 14 years old in US and otherwise. There were concerns around platforms from a particular nation sending data back to their state, home state, and using that data to analyze behavior of consumers, even try and find out what could be the weaknesses in the social infrastructure to exploit that. And that those are not, I would say, sci-fi or conspiracy theory ideas. Those are things which can actually happen real time. And Nick and I, we would gladly not introduce ourselves as co-founders of a social. We'd rather say that we identified the need of data being a consumer asset rather than a corporate asset. And that led us to being accidental co-founders of a social network. I mean, when we started the journey, we were nowhere in the picture in terms of bringing in a social connect between our consumers anywhere before 2021 and 2022 beginning. But when we launched the data as a marketplace model, we realized that the consumers wanted more. And probably we are the first company in the world which says that our platform users are not users, but consumers. Means this term, so to say, users is not respectful about the consumers who create wealth for your platform. The end of the day, if you're the basic difference that we felt the industry needed was that enterprise, yes, agreed, they pay for the platform, so they need to be your consumers, but those are enterprise consumers. But at the same time, an individual user who creates that value in the platform for enterprise to pay for it is also a consumer, because they're consuming social content, they're consuming behavior content, which helps you analyze that behavior and go back to enterprise and sell your advertisement slots to them. So, as I said before, when we launched the data marketplace, we realized that consumers wanted more. They wanted to interact with each other, that they wanted a reason why they had to come back to the platform. And as such, we launched AiiSocial on 15th of August. We have not advertised it. We have not been aggressive about it. And luckily for us, with the blessings of our consumers, we've grown to about 10,000 odd people over the last 3 months. And they've put in some trust in us. Now, as Akshay pointed out, that when you sign up for a platform, you give them information. So that is the first point of gathering information about you. You get given your email address, you given your phone number, your first name, last name, your location as to where you're based, your address. But when you give that information to a platform like AiiSocial, that information is wealth for us, because we can ascertain where you are based, what demography do you belong to, and basis that information, we can give you advertisements which will create revenue for us. So if it's creating revenue for us, why should you not be a part of that revenue generation exercise? So AiiSocial is the first platform in the world which says that data is a wealth created by an individual consumer. And if that wealth creation story goes on, individual consumer has to be a part of that wealth creation journey. So our users or consumers, whenever they come onto the platform and they do an activity, they're generating money for themselves too, is what the entire structure behind iSocial is. The second point of it is that when you give this information, as of date, you give this information to hundreds of platforms. As iSocial grows, we want it to be a scenario. No matter how many doom theories we create or how many naysayers we have, data economy is a part of our future and we cannot avoid it. So if we say that we'll not get onto a social platform and by doing that, we will be able to stop the journey of the data economy, unfortunately not. There are 99% other users who will jump onto these free platforms. And that is what big tech is betting upon. They're not betting upon that 1% that says I'm not going to use the platform. They're betting upon that 99% who will say that I see the advantages of doing what I'm doing with the platform. I'll use it. I don't care about my data.
I agree. I agree to what he says.
Yeah. So what you have to realize is that doing so, we have created a multi-trillion-dollar economy, right from the big tech firms to the smaller data brokers that we see in the day-to-day market, who are all trading our data as individuals and then using it to create wealth for themselves. We are nowhere a part of it. We actually end up being used twice over. So we are an attempt at iSocial, we are an attempt at four factors. One, the data that you submit should create wealth for you at an individual level. Let the big tech say that individual data is not worth anything, but we strongly feel that individual data, when compiled into demographic groups, creates a lot of wealth, and a part of that wealth should go back to the individuals also. And we've been doing it for 3 months, means our users have been able to pay off their mobile bills. They've been able to gather Amazon coupons on stuff like purchasing smaller items, D2H recharge and stuff like that. And those are small items to see per se, but that is a cut of the data economy. So we want to keep growing that cut of the data economy. The second aspect of it is that creators should get more value. Basic nuances being pointed out in the ecosystem today are that if you are not a paid advertiser, your organic growth is very strongly limited, unless and until you're onto a new platform. So, and in fact, luckily, just before this particular session, Nick and I were debating with our tech team on how our algorithms have to operate. And the key factor that we laid down as a foundation of it was that if a user makes an effort to grow his audience or her audience, at no point should that organic growth be killed because we want them to pay our ecosystem. So make sure that at all times, a creator's efforts at creating an audience are rewarded. So that's the bottom line of it. Rest all will work out as we keep growing. The third aspect of it is that everything that we create, right from a food blog or a food video to a beautiful picture of some content, to a musical sound, to just a laugh that can be used by someone else. Why do we create it? We create it because we have an artistic behavior or a lucky opportunity, so to say, in ourselves, wherein we created something that went viral. That again is creating wealth. So if it's creating wealth, where is the creator getting the wealth out of? So we're bringing copyrights at a level wherein IP protection is critical to our platform. So right from a photograph to, means the technology is still nascent, but right from a photograph that you post onto the platform to a video that you do or an original sound that you upload there, we've tied up with partners who will create an IP chain on it. And if that sound, photo, or content is ever used again by someone else, you get compensated for it. Now, millions of bucks for some of the high level content creators. This could be a couple of bucks for somebody who's doing it only occasionally.
Yes.
So bringing this audience, the generation that is coming up next, into the fold of the data economy, not just as the creators of it, but also as economic participants in it, is why we created iSocial, and that is why we are running it on a daily basis to make sure that that happens. That is how I look at it. It's data economy is the future, no denying it. We just have to safeguard our existing and coming generations in a perspective that they are the decision makers and beneficiaries in that economy, and not just freeloaders, as a lot of platforms consider that to be right now. That we've given you the platform free of cost. So that's a favor that we are doing to you. And whatever we do with your data after that is our.
Nicholas, I think your perspective, a social media boon or a bane?
Look, I think from a AiiSocial perspective, Ankit gave a very nice picture, especially about the whole data, my asset approach. Bane or boon, I'm a millennial. I'm 27 years old right now, and I feel we have to move away from it's good now, but let's see what happens in the future, because it might not be that good anymore in the future. Because this is a nice saying, but where are the actions, right? And now, especially with social media, we are targeting an industry, a multi-billion-dollar industry, as Ankit mentioned before as well, right? So I feel now people are getting famous on social media because they share their details. They are asked to showcase their lives. Give us like a snapshot of your daily life. What I just feel is that all of us should get in a position where let's create the change for the later generations so they don't run into trouble, whilst we benefit from the current Bane situation, right? So and that's for me a bit the underlying end to my comment, where I feel it's definitely a bane right now, but us as millennials and a little bit older than millennials, let's try to create that change for the generations that come after us so they can keep benefiting from this simplified connectivity of social media around the world.
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, it is the decision of an individual, of a human being, to use everything that you have in life precisely in a correct way. Now, there is also something known as uncensored content, right? The government is now stepping in. They're just going on the OTT platform, saying that they're going to also, have a board governing it, etc. So, Varshita ma'am, if I have to ask you, what do you think is the beauty of uncensored content? It's like good or bad. You can just directly, on just a click, you can have that available on your screen. So what do you think?
I think that is purely debatable, because something that offends me may not offend the other person. But
True.
also, in a way, I have felt a lot of times that uncensored content has certainly helped us to develop a sense of more understanding of the way things are. Because I have noticed that how would I view censorship? Like, how do I give an authority to somebody else to decide what's right for me and what isn't right for me, and what I'm
True.
capable of seeing and understanding and perceiving, and what I would not be capable of seeing and perceiving and understanding? So that's something that's always been debatable, and I don't know if I could always give you like a perfect answer and say that yes, I'm pro censored content, or I think I'm anti-censored content, and I want to see anything and everything. Because you also have to understand that at a lot of times, especially when you look at social media, or if you look at Netflix, or if you look at all the other viewing platforms, we don't know who is actually viewing them. We don't know.
Yes.
Anybody could be registered as someone who's above 18. So how do you so my greatest concern would be, so how would you be able to regulate that? How would you be able to regulate the fact that the person who's actually viewing the content is above 18 and would have the discretion to understand it? These days, kids, if they have a free time, or if they have an off, they'd rather play games on their iPad, or listen to music on their iPods, or do something
Absolutely.
on their mobile phones, rather than venture out and do something. And I rarely ever see anybody read. Back then, it was compulsory in our schools. It was mandatory for us to read a few books every summer vacation and come back and write a review or write all sorts of things and take exams on that. I rarely see anyone reading anymore. Even adults, I've seen people want to read on Kindle, and they think it's much more fashionable to do that because it saves us a lot of space. What happened to the times when, in an old-fashioned way, we all took a book to a railway station, or hopped on
So
a
true.
flight with a book and read a book? So I think these are the things that you're really missing out, which are more. I think they feed more than what social media or any other platform or internet can do for you.
Amongst our panelists, have you watched the Social Dilemma documentary on Netflix? Sachin sir, have you watched that? It's more about privacy and.
Actually, we have watched it, but we already knew that was happening. But yeah,
Oh, it's
a good eye openers for the rest of the people. And when I talk about this app also, the AiiSocial app and everything, see, I'm always a believer that I tell in all my sessions and all my seminars, कि मेरा data जा रहा है, my data is going, and I'm not benefiting out of it. This is the kind of Indian thing. And if somebody gives me an opportunity कि भाई मेरा data लेके जाओ और मुझे कुछ मिल रहा है, trust me, Indians would go for it because anyways mera ja raha hai, you know, like some data, might as well somebody else take it, but let me get it something out of it. And see, when there are many so-called big industrialists and I've got good clientele and people at the end of the day call me that what should I do, how should I safeguard and everything like that. Okay, at the end of the day, in the 21st century, at the end of the day, you're only going to give away your data, but आप जाने वाले हो खाली हाथी. No, there is nothing more to be worried about. Okay, except in this 21st century, we are going to give our biometrics as well as our data. That is the end of it. But yeah, if I feel that my data is already out there, but I'm not able to get the benefit out of it, and somebody is going to maybe use it or misuse it, better give it to somebody where I can get the benefit out of it. So yeah, I like this idea of, giving your data voluntarily, as well as might as well as we are giving our data on social media when we accept our I agree terms and everything like that. But here at least the applications of somebody is telling me that okay, I'm going to use your data, but you are going to getting something out of it.
Well, thank you, Sachin, for the kind words. Kids are now used to faking their age, faking their profiles on social platforms, on digital consumption networks to such an extent that trolling, bots, fake profiles, they've become real world problems. They're not just social or digital problems now, they're real world problems because they bias algorithms, they bias behaviors and everything.
I
So,
suppose.
yeah. So
Yeah.
we categorically decided that this platform has to operate and give value to a KYC user, a user who we know that they're of a certain age, their belief and behavior is nuanced, and means there could be a 30-year-old person who has a biased narrative, but at least he's responsible for his actions. In our society, could you walk up to your neighbor and abuse him? You never could. Means we've lived on this earth for now, I would say about 35 years myself now. I could never walk up to my neighbor or anybody in my gully that matter whom I did not know and abuse them. But on social, we consider it to be the first right that I can abuse anyone and everyone, and in the worst of words. So
Yes.
when you bring in identification, and most of these guys who are abusing, who are the system, the person, the individual, or the talent, are generally faceless, nameless personas. Simply because they're hiding behind that faceless, nameless persona, are they able to do it? On our platform, your name is public. Everybody knows that if you have a gold badge or a blue badge, you're a verified profile. If you use profanity, if you abuse somebody, there is an action that can be taken against you. And that is the first level. Since inception and with about 10,000 users, luckily, and may it be so always, not even a single profanity has been used on the platform. And as the number of users increase, you'll have behaviors from all segments of life, and that might change. But for now, we're really glad about it that our profanity filter is lying idle. Means it's a technology that we would have loved to use, but it's lying idle.
This panel discussion has been amazing. But before ending, I have to ask one last question to start with Akshay sir. A message to reach out the youth.
See, you just have to follow your dreams, okay? And today, social media gives you a particular platform, any platform on social media, where you can do that. You don't worry about anybody's going to judge you. You just express yourself. Social media with two sides, always take the positive side. Today, if youngsters, newly married couples send so many DMs, thanks to the recipes that you guys are making, we can cook, thanks to YouTube, you would be shocked to know that YouTube is actually the second largest search engine after Google. I want to learn something, I can just go onto YouTube, type something, and I can learn it. Now, people will say, but there is a negative aspect to it. Don't watch it. If you think you're getting trolled, comments are there. Moderate them, disable them. Everybody started doing
Absolutely.
that. So for youngsters, it's very easy to get carried away with screen times, with different apps, getting popularity. But understand why you use social media. So I hope those guys, the youngsters, the next
Amazing.
gen, understands that. Yeah.
I think the whole discussion we started with the line saying that social media, you should know the idea why you're on it, the context, your reason, and you're good to go. And lastly, Nick, sir, if I have to ask you one message to the audience, to the youth of the society, if you have to give them, over to you.
I think I'm taking a bit an entrepreneurial approach for this, and I think something which for myself I consider myself still as a young entrepreneur with 27. Something which has helped me throughout the journey is to stay interested, and stay interested as in keep one foot in your education and keep one foot into business and drive these two lanes and keep driving them.
Thank you so much. And the perspective from every industry that we got from ethical hacking, we got from fashion, we got from food blogging. It leaves up. It is upon us how we decide, how we take the control, how we do everything. So if I have to mention everything, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. As you doing a great job. I think we've had some lovely panelists. Everyone, all the audience have joined in to see this whole video. Thank you so much, all panelists. Taking our time and for this amazing discussion really means a lot, an honor for all of us to be